Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, dear friends, it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you at the Atlantic Council Freedom Awards Gala Dinner, closing the 2016 Wroclaw Global Forum. It is by far a unique year, 2016, a year in which the only constant thing is change. This is why I want to extend my deepest gratitude to all those who made our forum possible, to all the partners and the sponsors. We appreciate your support, it was crucial for us. To the very hardworking team of the Polish Institute of International Affairs, PISM, to the city and the Convention Bureau, our dear friends, the hardest working people, not only in this city, and obviously to my dear colleagues from Atlantic Council, both in DC and in Warsaw. Ladies and gentlemen, this year is also unique for Poland, having the Wrocław Global Forum behind and the Warsaw Summit ahead of us. One thing should be expressed firmly. Poland is and should remain massively involved in the future development of the NATO, our joint security guarantee on all of NATO geographical flanks. And Poland has to develop its role as one of the core member states of the European Union, shaping its future, securing and strengthening European project together with all other 27 proud European countries. Ladies and gentlemen, there are though disciplines in which Poland should actually get up from its knees. And one of these disciplines is football. With all respect to our guests tonight from UK, Northern Ireland, Germany, Ukraine, and other European countries, it's not gonna be easy against Poland in France. Because Poland is not yet lost. Jeszcze Polska nie zginęła. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now pass the stage to my boss, CEO, President of the Atlantic Council, Mr. Fred Camp. Please welcome Fred.
Michał, first of all, congratulations to you and everything that you've done. It is just wonderful to have someone of your stature, of your intelligence running our Warsaw operation. So big round of applause for Michał Kubowski. So on behalf of the Atlantic Council and its chairman, Governor John Huntsman, and Mary Kay, yes, I'm going to do this, and his wife, Mary Kay, welcome to the 8th Atlantic Council Freedom Awards. After holding the awards ceremony in Berlin in its first year in 2009, on the 20th anniversary of the Berlin Wall's collapse, the Atlantic Council brought the Freedom Awards to Poland, to Wrocław, 7 years ago as a tribute to Poland's special significance in Europe's struggle for freedom in the 20th century. As the United States, Europe, and our allies across the world confront some of the most complex set of challenges in recent history, we dare not forget that at a time when there was no democracy in Poland, when there was very little hope that one would ever recover full national sovereignty, a group of people, millions of people in Poland, believed in it and changed the world. Our hope for these awards is twofold. First, we hope to honor individuals and groups that have contributed to the spread and the defense of freedom. Second, we hope through these awards to inspire others to shape the course of history for the better. As we stand here today, Europe faces a triple threat, from the east, from the south, and internally. There are also significant questions about America's role in the world as we pass through one of the most extraordinary presidential campaigns in recent history. Our own view at the Atlantic Council is less benevolent forces or chaos will fill the void if we fail to lead alongside our friends and allies, putting at risk the values and freedoms for which we stand and for which we have fought so hard. The awardees we salute tonight underscore the reality that freedom comes in many forms, as do its threats. We will celebrate a Polish priest, Reverend Maciej Zięba, a prolific writer on democracy and economics, who was a member of the Polish resistance movement in the late 1970s and 1980s, and has bridged gaps between North America and the new democracies in Central and Eastern Europe. We will celebrate a German leader, Horst Teltschik, whose courageous and quiet work as National Security Advisor to German Chancellor Helmut Kohl resulted in German unification and changed the course of history. He also, by the way, last year helped deliver a 3-ton piece of Berlin Wall as a gift to the American people through the Atlantic Council to recognize the United States role in this End Cold War March of Freedom. And it's signed personally by many of the great leaders who helped bring that Berlin Wall down. We will salute Nigat Dad, a Pakistani lawyer and internet activist who fights to protect freedom online, particularly for women, by standing up for free speech, against censorship, and against online harassment. And we will celebrate a group that is saving lives in Syria, the White Helmets. The threats we acknowledge in these awards are global, local, and in the case of Syrian leader Hafez al-Assad, murderous. The awards we present honor those who are resilient, unbending, unique, and committed to their individual and collective ability to bring about change. These awardees, and hundreds and thousands like them around the world, are an antidote to those who stand by in despair, resignation, or ignorance in the face of despotism, oppression, and violent extremism. They inspire us all. In that spirit, a special thanks to our traditional co-chairs of this dinner, the U.S. Ambassador to Poland, Paul Jones, whom you will hear from next, and the Polish Ambassador to the United States, Richard Schnepf, who could not join us this evening. I'm also delighted we are joined by an International Advisory Board member, Shawkat Aziz, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan and a new book author, and Board Director Maciej Watucki, whose wife Sofia has done so much to drive change in Haiti, a freedom fighter of a sort herself. And of course, let me salute our organizing partners, the City of Wrocław, Mayor Rafał Dudkiewicz, and the Polish Institute for International Affairs, and Sławomir Dębski. As you are aware, this massive effort, the massive effort that it takes to pull off an event like this, we would not be able to do this without a close and cooperative team on the ground in Poland. So thank you for another great year of partnership, and also, of course, to the Congress Center team and our media partners at MSL Group. And at the end of the evening, as we thank a couple of other people, we hope to have the Flying Angels here, all the volunteers from this city who inspire us all every year. Last but not least, a huge thank you to our forum sponsors, our partners. We are a nonprofit. In American parlance, we're a 501c3. We have great ambitions to improve the world wherever we can, but we can only do it with the support of our partners. An event of this magnitude takes great resources, who share our vision and understand that vision without resources would be an empty stage and an empty conference hall. Each and every one of you deserves a round of applause, but if you could all just join me right now to give you all this round of applause. Thank you. And for those of you in the hall who didn't support us this year, we'll be taking your pre-orders at the door on your way out. Last but not least, a huge thank you to our forum partners. I also want to thank the MSL Group, our media partners who have done such a magnificent job. Thanks so much to you. It's great to work with you again this year. I'm sure you're eager to move on to the main program, so let me now pass the stage to our co-chair, Ambassador Jones, but before I do, I want to remind everyone to join the conversation on Twitter. Tweet us at WGForum using the hashtag AC Awards. Spread the word about these amazing awardees. Thank you, Ambassador Jones.
Good evening. I am delighted and honored to be a host of tonight's gala dinner and to welcome everyone to the Atlantic Council's Freedom Awards. I want to just say a couple of quick thank yous, and that is obviously to Mayor Dudkiewicz, who has so warmly welcomed all of us over the last couple of days to this part of Poland and to Poland more generally. I met Mayor Dudkiewicz only last November, and it was a cold and rainy day, and I went and called on him in his office, and in his normal way of bringing good cheer to any situation, it was 10 o'clock in the morning, he opened a bottle of champagne, and we all sort of, had a good time, and the rain didn't seem so cold, and the day didn't seem so dreary after that, and that's sort of the way he's welcomed all of us. This is my first Atlantic Council Freedom Awards dinner, and it is my first global forum here in Wrocław, and I have to say I'm really, really impressed. So I want to thank Chairman John Huntsman, our President of Atlantic Council, Fred Kemp, Fran Burwell, who brings it all together, and our good friends Damon Wilson and Michał Kobosko, whom we work with very closely, the whole Atlantic Council team at the American Embassy. As has been said and resaid, and couldn't be truer, we face a lot of challenges in Europe and the transatlantic space today, and I really couldn't think of a better organization to pull us together, to grapple with them, to address them, to figure out and chart the way forward in these very crucial years, in this crucial period before the NATO summit, to help us realize the dream I think many, many of us have been working on for many years of a Europe whole, free, and at peace. And tonight, I am just delighted that we're also going to award real people, individuals who are at the forefront and have been at the forefront of standing for the values that we talk about in our conferences and our discussions, the freedom, democracy, and human rights, people that remind us of what it's like on the ground to do, to serve the people and get the job done that we all think is so important. So I'm delighted to be here. Thank you all, and look forward to seeing you on many future occasions here in Wrocław with the Global Forum and the awards dinner. Congratulations to all, and let me pass the microphone to the wonderful mayor of Wrocław, Mayor Dudkiewicz. Thank you so much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is always the most emotional evening of Wrocław Global Forum. You can feel the spirit of democracy coming from above, and you can observe how freedom is making people better and more beautiful. I'm talking about our awardees. Congratulations to all of them. And as I know, applause is very... And because I know we are expecting the presentation, then let us start. The very first presentation will be done by the former Prime Minister of Poland, Mr. Jan Krzysztof Bielecki, who I invite to the stage. Thank you very much.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Winston Churchill, when asked how long does it take to prepare a 5-minute speech, said a week. And then he was asked, and half an hour speech, and then he answered 2-3 days. And then he explained that for 1 hour, I can speak from the outset. My situation is extremely difficult. The organizers gave me 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So 62 years to cover. That's easy. So thank you very much, Mayor Dudkiewicz, for that kind of privilege. So let me start by explaining that Maciej Zięba, Father Maciej Zięba, was born in 1954. And class 54 is very special to the Polish transformation and solidarity movement, legal solidarity movement during 16 famous months, but also illegal underground solidarity movement. This is the year where great leaders and heroes like Władysław Frasyniuk, Zbyszek Bujak, or Jacek Merkel were born. All of them great human rights fighters. And also, Maciej Zięba could become one of them. Not only born in 94, but also could be easily one of them. Engaged in solidarity movement from day one, quite promising physicist, a little bit frankly speaking, but it's between us. I hope he doesn't hear it. A little bit less promising for football player, but nevertheless, he was perfectly suited to be one of the key leaders of independent Poland. However, he made a different choice and was ordained a priest in 1987, and later served as provincial superior for the Dominicans of Poland, also on the Synod of Bishops for Europe, and on the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace. Father Zięba is also a founder of famous institute, Tertio Millennio. Yes, I think, ladies and gentlemen, that Father Zięba is simply Polish answer to the two great philosophers and theologian, Professor Michael Nowak and Professor George Weigel. Father Zięba reminded us that, as his friend John Paul II insisted, economic choices are always moral choices, especially in a free economy. And many books he wrote and remind us, and maybe the best book in particular, remind us the economic teaching of modern popes. And finally, Father Zięba, following Cardinal Ratzinger's teaching, he taught us that in politics, a compromise, consensus, that ability to cooperate is a genuine morality. As Maciej Zięba said once, we are not Tutsi or Hutu. We must sit and talk each other. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we really must sit down and talk. But also, or maybe, first of all, learn how to listen. I think we can do it, and we must do it. Please welcome to the stage Father Ziemba. Yes. He was supposed to stay on this cross, and what a discipline. What?
Władysław Bartoszewski, many years ago, asked me, do you know what you need to do to celebrate Jubilee? Nothing, but a very long time. And I'm entering this age. But because I'm religious, so I vowed obedience, I will throw over 5 minutes time limit, and therefore I will stick to the written text. In 1961, when the Atlantic Council was founded, I was just a boy. I learned about the international politics by standing in queues for flour and sugar. When the Berlin Wall was constructed, we would queue to buy groceries. When the Cuban crisis commenced, we would queue to buy supplies to help us survive the next war. The street wisdom was clear. The only chance for Polish freedom was the Third World War. The childhood behind the Iron Curtain was hopeless, full of fear and communist lies. And yet in high school, I met my mentors and friends-to-be, Stefan Kisielewski, Władysław Bartoszewski, Jacek Woźniakowski, and Tadeusz Mazowiecki. They taught me that even in communist Poland, one can live with courage and dignity. They showed me the power of wise patriotism and the meaning of conscious Catholic faith. 2 of them got the prize from the Atlantic Council. Without them, I wouldn't be here. The witness of their lives was clear. Fight for human dignity. Stay on the side of truth and always take care of the weakest. If the beginning of 60s are stored in my memory as the years of queues, and of the 70s, I remember the years of tears of joy. I surprised myself when I realized I had tears running down my cheeks as I listened on Polish TV to a speech given by the President of the United States. During his visit to Poland, President Carter spoke about human rights and moved me to tears because for the first time in my life, I listened to the words uncensored, which were not rigged. A year later, I cried for the second time, watching the inauguration of the pontificate of John Paul II, who was named by many people the Pope of Liberty. At the outset of his pontificate, he wrote to the UN Secretary General, quotation, "True freedom is a salient characteristic of humanity. It is the fount from which human dignity flows. It is an exceptional sign of the divine image within man. It is offered to us and conferred on us as our own mission." And in the early 80s, we understood well the Pope's teaching about human dignity and freedom. Solidarność was exactly this: a community of free men and women, a community built on the respect for the dignity of human being, each and every human being. Living by this principle has proven harder in a free and democratic state. We began to realize that achieving sovereignty, getting new institutions and procedures is not sufficient to have democracy. We discovered and continue, sometimes painfully, continue to discover that the substance of democracy is homo democraticus, a human being creatively engaged in the construction of a solidarity and community of free people. we learn that freedom cannot take a form of passivity or an escape from responsibility, but must be, to invoke George Washington's words, an ordered liberty. Moreover, we learn that a community of free people is not a state to be once achieved, but a never-ending process. For those reasons, the primary danger to the free and democratic society is neither anarchic disintegration of the community nor totalitarian tyranny. The primary danger is passivity and conformism. When several times I have discussed this issue with my masters and friends, Tadeusz Mazowiecki and John Paul II, I used to refer to Alexis Tocqueville's Appendix to Democracy in America, which I would like to invoke as a conclusion. Quotation. It cannot be absolutely or generally affirmed that the greatest danger of the present age is license or tyranny. Both are equally to be feared. And the one may proceed it as easily as the other from one and the same cause, namely general apathy, which is the consequence of individualism. It is not because this apathy exists that the executive government, having mastered a few troops, is able to commit acts of oppression one day. The proper object, therefore, of our most strenuous resistance is far less either anarchy or despotism than apathy, which may almost indifferently beget either one or the other. End of quotation. So, thank you very much for granting me this honorable award. I wish all the distinguished guests gathered tonight in this room, may we be able to effectively combat the societal apathy afflicting Western democracies by building a community of free, creative, and solidary people. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Andrius Kubilius, member of Seimas and former Prime Minister of Lithuania.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have really big honor and privilege to introduce you next Freedom Award and to introduce Dr. Horst Teltschik. Really, it's a very easy job to do, because to introduce Dr. Horst Teltschik is very easy. You can just name positions which he was holding, and that will be enough. And I will start from very simple facts. Dr. Horst Teltschik, from 1972 up to 1991, was working with Helmut Kohl, first of all as an advisor to Prime Minister of Rhineland-Pfalz, and later on as a security advisor to Chancellor in Bonn. Being in that position, he was most influential in German unification processes. After that, he left governmental job and started all other very important also activities. For 10 years, he was leading Herbert Quandt Foundation of BMW. From 1999 to 2008, he chaired the Munich Security Conference. Again, very important job. He was also a CEO of Bertelsmann Foundation, and he is a former president of Boeing Germany. Now he is leading Global Zero, an international movement that is working on a plan to eliminate all nuclear weapons by 2030. We would wish all the success for that initiative. That is really a biography. But I would try to add a few additional comments. Dr. Horst Teltschik comes from a very old and well-known German Teltschik family, which since 1300 was living in Sudetenland, which later on became part of Czechoslovakia. The family left their historical place after the Second World War, when Dr. Horst Teltschik was still only 5 years old. Dr. Horst Teltschik, from the experience of his family, knows the tragedies of Central Europe, and that explains a lot why he managed to play such an important role back in 1989 and 1990. I remember very well that period of time and my own experience. Back in 1989, in Lithuania, we were going through our singing revolution. That was how it was called at that time, with huge manifestations, a lot of strong national songs, protest meetings, Baltic chain stretching from Vilnius to Tallinn. I was active in organizing all those events. But in August 1989, my wife and me, we decided to visit our friends in East Germany. And I was really very much surprised that at that time, East Germany was still very passive, full of Gorbachev and Honecker portraits. But as you know, just a few months after, Berlin Wall collapsed, Germany started its unification processes, then we got our independence, Soviet Empire collapsed, and now we are here. It's really a miracle what all of us managed to achieve in bringing freedom to our part of Europe. We know the prominent leaders and heroes of this story, like President Ronald Reagan and George Bush, Margaret Thatcher and Helmut Kohl, Lech Walesa from Poland, Václav Havel from Czech Republic, or Vytautas Landsbergis from Lithuania. But besides those well-known political leaders, real job also was done by those whom we can call unknown heroes or almost unknown heroes, like Dr. Horst Telčik. So really, I am very proud and honored that I have a privilege to announce that Atlantic Council Freedom Award in this year goes also to Dr. Horst Telčik. But before inviting him to the stage, I would like to ask your attention to some video.
My heartfelt congratulations to my colleague and longtime dear friend, Horst Telčik, a man of impeccable character, judgment, and expertise. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person for you, Horst, on this special occasion to accept the Atlantic Council Freedom Award, one that honors the many successes that have paved the way for today's freedoms, while inspiring others to change the course of history for the better. When looking back at the events of 1989, what we commemorate is an attitude more than anything specific. The events were great. The hazards were deep. But it was individuals such as Horst who navigated the complexities to advance freedom and security at a time when many others deemed it impossible. As many of you know, Horst Telčik and I had a private phone line. There were no cell phones at that time. I'd pick up the phone on my desk and it rang on his desk. No operators or anyone in between. We used to talk almost every day. Our connection allowed things to happen with confidence on both sides that never could have happened before. That is the lesson we can take away from the Berlin Wall. We didn't want to repeat the aftermath of World War I and World War II. We had to calculate, and we had to communicate, and we went about both in a very systematic way. Horst, I think one can fairly ask whether German reunification would have happened without you and your relationship with Chancellor Kohl. And even if it would have happened at a moment in history when, much like today, Europe and the rest of the world was fraught with tensions, if it would have played out in the same way. You represent a strand of thinking that has been lacking since the end of the Cold War. It is time we take a page from your book and we talk to each other deeply and sincerely, because the path ahead is not much clearer than it was in 1989. Thank you, Horst.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Horst Telčik.
Dear Prime Minister Kubilius, thank you very much for your kindly introducing me, which I highly appreciate. And I'm really deeply moved by the message of Prince Scowcroft. I fortunately could celebrate last year his 90th birthday. He will become 91 this year, and he's still in a good shape. And we both could be successful because of the deep trust we had in one another. We informed us nearly every day, if necessary, and we could rely on one another. And this was in 89, 90, very important. Well, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am deeply moved that you are honoring me today by awarding me the Freedom Award. I would like to thank the board of the American Council and especially you, dear Fred, for this decision. I dare say that I indeed deserve this award because when I was wait a moment. When I was in office in Bonn, in the former capital of Germany, I had to explain to an American correspondent, his name was Fred Kempe, the gist of the German foreign and security policy, mainly the German Ostpolitik, our policy for East Germany and Eastern Europe. This was not so easy, because I had to avoid by all means that the Wall Street Journal would come up with the wrong headline. And so I had to make sure that Fred fully understands the German Ostpolitik and the fact that the German government under Chancellor Helmut Kohl would work very hard on the unification of Germany. And this we then did, resulting in a successful and peaceful reunification process. For me, it's still a miracle that we could unify Germany peacefully, that we can overcome the Cold War peacefully, that everything works peacefully. I'm receiving the Freedom Award today in the city of Wroclaw in Poland. And I am truly delighted that the event is taking place in this particular country. For me, the Polish people belong to those nations in our world who love their freedom and who have demonstrated more than once in their history that they are ready to fight and, if necessary, even sacrifice their own lives in order to be free. In 1989, I went to Poland as a personal representative of Chancellor Kohl and negotiated the German-Polish declaration on the future relationship of our two countries. I was privileged to be in a special position to closely observe the peaceful transition of Poland from a communist country to a free democratic one. And Poland was the first country within the Warsaw Pact, in which the communist system was successfully overthrown by Poland's Solidarność movement. When I saw this happening, I became convinced that this would facilitate changes in the GDR as well. And in November 1989, Lech Wałęsa, the head of the Solidarność movement, said to Chancellor Helmut Kohl that this will be the beginning of the German reunification process as well. And he was right. And by saying this to us, he supported our efforts to move ahead with it. Again, thank you for giving me this award today here in Wroclaw. Thanks a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, the program will resume in 40 minutes. Please enjoy your dinner.